there's this big wholesaler that's nationwide. His name is Jerry Norton, and
Jared or Jerry?
Jerry Norton. And he is proposing starting a national real estate wholesalers association. So he wants to start a whole association for wholesalers to be able to represent wholesalers when it comes time to regulation, litigation, all of these things that are going on. Because more and more states right now are actually implementing and forcing that if you're going to wholesale, you need to have a real estate license. So which that's another thing that I'm curious about, because if you're going to wholesale, you need to have a real estate license, but as a real estate agent, you can't wholesale because then you're not doing your fiduciary responsibility for the person. So then wouldn't you be are they wanting you to do that? So then you don't wholesale because you'll be in conflict? I don't know. I mean, that's kind of, I don't know what the goal is with that. Like, what's the difference of you having a license? Like, you're still not going to, if you're truly wholesaling, you're not acting in the seller's
Yeah, there'd
behalf.
be a lot
You're
of
acting in
legislation.
yours.
There'd be a lot of legislation that have to go around that because, yeah, you have to put your interest before the other person. That means you would have to disclose, hey, I'm contracting you, but I'm going to wholesale this for a higher price.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you that I'm making 10, 15, 20 grand off of that.
Which kills the whole thing of
Yeah,
wholesaling,
there's like,
right?
oh God, why would I sell to you? If you have a buyer that's going to pay $20,000 more, why would I? No.
I mean,
want that person.
how many times do we have even wholesalers that are double closing because the buyer, the investor, couldn't handle them getting that kind of a wholesale fee?
And that's one thing that would be, I mean, guess good and bad when it comes to that, because like the good thing is like it wipe out a lot of wholesalers that don't have the capital to be able to close these deals and then resell them, kind of like some of the big wholesale groups in these areas do.
Mm-hmm.
But like on the bad side is like it wipes a lot of them out. So the only people that can do this are the people that have a lot of resources. So those fees actually might get worse for the end consumer of who is the ability, because now it's like, hey, they're the only outfit in town. There's way less people out in town. It's like, well, now my competition just went to nothing. So instead of saying I'm not going to do this unless for less than 10, I can do 15, 20, 25 because I'm the only one out there.
Right.
So that, I mean, it's a double-edged sword where it's just like kind of be interesting to see like where that would end up going.
So let me share with you pretty much because I mean, I've listened to quite a few videos from him talking about this, and almost every video they kind of change what they're doing, because I think it's something that they haven't spent much time thinking about it, and it just came to them and they created a website and they're like, we're doing this. And now people are asking some really smart questions, and it's forcing them to stop and be like, should we be doing this? So this is what they're saying right now at the most recent update that he had his attorney on. And you can go to their YouTube channel and check it out. Just type in Jerry Norton. I think his channel's Flipping Mastery TV, I think. You'll find it. I mean, it's all over YouTube. But they're going to be a 501c6 nonprofit. The whole purpose is so they can lobby for its causes. Owners cannot profit. Compensation for officers/employees is public information. Compensation voted on by board. Up to 8 board members appointed first year, then voted on by the general membership thereafter. Can have up to 20 advisors. Conflict of interest policy. Any board member that will benefit from a financial decision is removed from voting. So this is what he posted with his attorney. And as I looked at all this and I listened to some of their conversations, one of the things that they brought up is that they need to provide specialized training to make sure that all wholesalers are wholesaling the right way using the same types of contracts, where not every wholesaler has their own type of contract. Nothing. Everybody's using the same contracts, the same assignment fee contracts, the same assignment contracts, all the same stuff. So
the entire nation.
Yes. So my question was on that, and to you, is first of all, who determines what the right education is?
Yeah.
I mean, keep in mind, this is being put together by gurus. You have Jerry, he's a guru.
Yeah, these guys don't make money wholesaling. They make money by educating about wholesaling. They probably make some money, but they make a ton of money just being
I'm not
educating.
putting past that they make money doing real estate itself, but yeah, their big thing is YouTube, their courses, their mentorship, all these things, right? So it's him, it's the guy that likes to wear the tight shirts, from TTP, that guy, and then some I can't remember the other guy. Some like brown skin guy. I don't know. He's like Middle Eastern somewhere, but he's American. But he's also all over YouTube. So, but they're all wholesaling gurus, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, so then who's gonna dictate what the right way, the right education should be?
That's what I said. That's why I don't see this really gaining traction. One, everyone using the same contracts.
Yeah.
The National Association of Realtors don't even use the same contracts in every single state.
Right.
Real estate is a very, very, that's why nobody's been able to disrupt that industry, because it's so segmented, it's so litigated, it's so fragmented by state, city by city, jurisdiction by jurisdiction, that it's very hard to just say, hey, we're all going to conform to the exact same standards.
Yeah.
Because every state is different. It's like New York. They don't use title companies. They use attorney's offices. It takes 3 months to buy a house over there, when here it takes anywhere from 20 to 45 days, depending on type of loan and other situations and stuff, where every state is different. And you can see that it's all determined by their own legislature, to where we just passed a law, I think it was in 2018, I think they did it, to where it's like you have to disclose that, hey, I'm not wholesaling the property. I'm wholesaling my interest in a contract. So does Alabama do that? Does Kansas do that? Does Texas, or what other states do that? Yeah. So like, it would be like, you can't have just a national wholesale kind of thing where like there's laws around that.
So here's my biggest thing about this, right? You know me, I'm very anti, let's overregulate everything kind of thing. Once you start putting something in the line of regulation, I think it gets out of control very quickly. And could it come back? Of course. But at first, it goes to one extreme, then it goes to another extreme. And these extremes take decades potentially, because it's politics.
Yeah.
So by the time things come around. So you're bringing wholesaling into politics now. You're bringing it into their purview, where it's going to be, okay, fine. You can wholesale, but yeah, you got to disclose everything. You got to disclose to your seller how much you're making. You got to disclose to the buyer how much you're making. You got to disclose your intentions at the beginning. I'm like,
well, it's also, well,
how bad is this? Because as wholesalers, as good wholesalers, let me state that, as good wholesalers, you have such a unique opportunity to help so many homeowners that are in real trouble. People that really need to sell fast because they got into financial hardship. People that really need to sell fast because of health issues. They need to move. Their house is deteriorated. They need this stuff, right? And it's your marketing, it's your effort, it's your knowledge, it's your resources that is able to help them get them exactly what they want, what they're looking for. Who cares how much you're making after that, right? Yeah. Like, if you're solving their problem and you're finding a buyer where you're not screwing the buyer over and you're giving them exactly what they want, what does it matter if you make $2,000 or $30,000? You know, what does it matter?
And I mean, I don't know. Well, one of the things, like, I agree with you, and it's also one of the things that, like, something's going to come out of this, because real estate's gotten so hot across the entire nation. Values have gotten so high that enough people are getting, quote, hurt and making so much money that legislation is starting to catch on. Well, it's also one of the things you look at it, like when somebody wholesales something, who reports the taxes the wholesaler made?
Nobody.
That's
nobody,
correct
because
answer.
The title company doesn't report it.
Title company doesn't do it. Buyer doesn't do it. Seller doesn't do it. Who pays the fee? Or
it's
who reports that?
It's up to the wholesaler to report that.
It's up to the wholesaler to report how much they make. And how many wholesalers, the people that we know, are going to say, yeah, I made $100,000 last year wholesaling properties? Zero. I mean, not very many. I mean, there's probably a few out there that do that.
We
wholesale stuff.
All transparency, we do tell them that that's a stupid move, because at the end of the day, the IRS is always going to get theirs.
It's like they do
and
report.
if they audit you and they are seeing this kind of income.
They can figure it out. Nobody reports by a 1099, but if they start seeing a lot of stuff, especially this administration wants to beef up IRS. And one thing, I do agree with that. It's like, hey, I pay my taxes legally. I know a lot of people don't. So it's like everyone should pay the legal amount of taxes they're supposed to pay. And it's one of those that
lost all the viewers.
And there they go. And it just crashed. YouTube was like, whoa. Well, YouTube would actually like that. It's just, it's like where I was saying, it's like nobody reports that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So if they beefed up, then when they say like how many trillions of dollars are lost every year just by people doing tax cheats, not reporting, underreporting, doing all kinds of stuff like that, these are the type of transactions they're talking about, because it's all a digital transaction. There is a footprint. They can find it. You're not hiding it. You're not exchanging cash. Cash is the only thing they can't track very easily.
Right.
So they can see it. Like they audit in a title company. They're going to see all these HUDs and they see these fees and be like, hey, let's dig into that $20,000 this person got. Did they pay taxes on it? Then they say, all right, there's no social security number. Who is this name? It's like they'll eventually track it down. So that is one thing I do see starting to be regulated before too long, is like it is becoming a big enough industry. Enough money is transacting this way. They will do something to find those tax dollars.
Yeah.
That's one thing I'd never put past the government, is to figure out how to make money.
And they can move because a lot of people say, well, that was 2 years ago. They have done it before, and they will do it again, where they can go and say, oh, we're implementing this law, and we're going to go back 10 years to implement it. It's
what do you need?
Wait, what?
What do you need to open a bank account?
Exactly.
A social security number, an EIN number.
You're not making
all
money.
They got to do is find your social security number or your EIN number, and they will instantly be able to link all your accounts together. All right, where's this link to a bank? Look at the bank, and they'll see all the transactions going in and out.
Yeah.
I was like, it doesn't take much. They don't need your approval to do that kind of stuff. Like, they will be able to figure that out, go through it, and they'll be like, And once they start auditing, they don't stop.
So let's keep going with their stuff, right? So the next thing they had was they're going to determine a code of ethics wholesalers need to follow.
Oh, God.
And when they said this, I mean, you got to think about it. Like, it's 4 gurus sitting around a table talking about code of ethics, right? And I just started, I was like, who is going to determine what the code of ethics is? Like, I've seen who you guys have associated with, and you have associated with some real slimy ass people, just because they have the following, huh?
That's an opinion.
Yeah, sure. But they've associated with some really slimy people that, we know are breaking the law. We know they're shady as shit, but just because they had the following, they're doing it. So then it's like, who are you to create the code of ethics then? Because you're already dubbing yourself the board members. You're already saying we are going to be the initial board members. People can vote us out later, which I'm sure, like every dictatorship, it's going to be, it's going to change, where it's like, well, only certain people can get voted out, and it has to be by a certain, I'm sure that kind of shit's going to come about.
It's the boys club kind of thing.
So you're looking at it, and it's like first they want to determine the set education that you're going to have, code of ethics, and then certification. So they're saying wholesalers will need to become certified, because their point is that eventually it's going to happen anyway. You're already having these states are demanding wholesalers become licensed. So he's like, it's going to happen anyway. So why don't we have them certified as wholesalers, get them licensed, so then they're able to perform. And I was like, okay, so here's another of my questions, right? Is that wholesaling, why does everybody get into it? Why does everybody start as a wholesaler? Because it's literally almost like the lowest barrier to entry.
Yeah.
And all they're doing right now is creating more and more barriers for entry. You're going to eliminate all the wholesalers like us that we didn't have any money when we started.
Yeah.
We were damn near negative in money when we started. That now you need to join a board. You need to get certified. You need to get their training. I'm sure their training isn't going to be free. So you need to do all this.
It's just like becoming a realtor at that point.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean anybody can get real estate, but you still have to buy the education, you still have to go through the training, you still have to pay fees, you still have to do these things. And it's one of the things like, do I see this like catching wind? No. Because you look at your big companies. that are quote unquote wholesalers, they still all buy it first and then resell it. So they're not wholesaling. They're straight just double closing. They're the owners. They
never
bought the
affect
house
them.
and you need that kind of money and that kind of power, because you can't tell me these gurus like this make enough. There's enough of them around that want to focus on this, devote enough capital to it to rewrite laws and legislation and represent this kind of stuff. 'Cause that's very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And your big wholesale outfits they don't care because all their agents are already licensed.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter to them. And I think that's why they do it, is because they just didn't want to get caught up and have something change for them and ruin their business model. It's like, hey, they're all licensed. So I don't see, I mean, would it be cool? Would it be good? Probably.
Now,
but I don't see it catching wind because there's got to be enough money, I don't see them doing it faster than the city legislations being able to put against it. Because I mean, we already have the National Association or National RIAs, Real Estate Investor Associations, and they do some representation and stuff like that. So I just don't see that catching a big tailwind that's going to push them across this table. Because I mean, it's also like, who are wholesalers? I'd say teams of, like, as far as like ownership and like main players, not VAs and stuff, 5, 10, 15 people. Like, I couldn't imagine a team of 15 people all being like US based principals working for a wholesale outfit here in the US.
And I think you're high on that number.
Yeah, it's like I can't see 15, like 10 even.
Yeah.
Like 5 is still just kind of like you might have a couple sales agent stuff, but your turnover rate's going to be huge because by the time your agents realize all you're doing is wholesaling, they're going to figure it out and they're going to do it themselves. They already see that with like your big wholesale outfits that we call them, even though they're double closing. A lot of them figure it out and they go somewhere else and do it themselves because they can make so much more money. They can keep all of it instead of 20%. They get 100%.
100%. So, so then here's my point with all this is what I do agree with them is I do agree with investors needing to come together to fight these regulations. I think if as an investor group, as investors general, we all get together and we start beating down, our representatives and everybody and saying like, hey, stop pushing this shit because it's actually going to hurt. It's not going to hurt just us, because think about it with agents with everything that we're doing. Like, agents can't solve the problems that investors can solve. Their only solution, put it on the market. That is it. You understand? But when the house needs a seller lease back, you know what I mean? When the property needs you to help them like figure out how the hell can they delay the foreclosure so they can sell the house, all these things, what investors are known for is their creativity.
Well, and then it's also one of the things like it's more a rise of like, not to put a plug or toot the own horn kind of thing, like Stepstone. Like they're all investors first and then realtors second. I think investing is going to be, quote, like what their mission has been is being like mainstream.
Yeah.
And do a lot more for the investor community and the realtor community. Because like, yes, I'm a licensed broker in the state of Texas with an associate broker with Stepstone, but I can still do all the investing things and just being like, hey, I can do the lease back. I have the connections to find the capital that I need, that I don't need bank loans. I can do lease back. We do them all the time. We're doing one next month. And where it's like, hey, guy needs 5 days from extra capital so he can buy his house and just that little bridge gap. Yeah. I can do that. I can have the connections. I am the end buyer in that scenario.
And we've done it up to 3 months.
And we do disclose in the contract, like, hey, principal of the purchasing entity has a Texas broker's license.
Yeah.
And they know that, but they don't care. Because at that point, they're like, hey, I got a problem. I'm solving it. I know you're making money on this transaction. I don't care.
No.
You've solved my problem.
So again, like going back to it, I do agree that as investors, when these things come up, because I think the most recent one was in Georgia, that they passed the most recent one that you need to get a license. And so it's Georgia, Pennsylvania, Oklahoma.
Well, also certain municipal.
Yep. That's the bourbon. That's
damn
the bourbon.
Stick makes you walk in and talk. The municipalities, still can't say it right. Shit.
I'm not even going to correct it.
Yeah, not even a try. Municipalities are even coming out with their own regulation within the city of like Philadelphia.
Yeah.
You can't do this. It's like, it's not just a state. No, the damn city is saying like, hey, if you're doing these types of transactions, we can, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's such a fragmented thing that like from city, state, local, and federal, all have a say in how these transactions happen.
Yeah.
So it's like for a company to come in and disrupt the whole industry, or a quote unquote national, when you said like unionizing it,
Yeah.
union to come in to say like, you'd have to get like an act of freaking Congress to just redo all of the past 250 years of legislation to wipe it away. That's like, nope, federal government says this, and this organization is the person that does that. Like, no, the entire tax code, the entire political system, the entire governance system is based on creating competition.
Right.
Even though there's still big players that are trying to manipulate that.
Well,
Well,
and
you're
then-
talking like massive $1 trillion companies trying to do that.
So the other issue was that, they said, well, what's going to happen is you're going to pay a yearly membership or monthly membership to be a part of this. And what we're going to do is we're going to use that money and all those funds to be able to speak to our representatives and do the whole shit that you got to do, buy off politicians and everything they do to buy.
Buy off politicians? They don't buy off politicians. What are you talking about?
Right, 'cause
Everyone's
that-
ethical.
Yeah, that's not how laws are made. But anyway, you got to do all these things, right? And it's like, how many millions of dollars are you going to have to get from members to be able to even put a dent on this? I mean,
That's what's in your members. Like, you're talking in your base of people, like 1, 2, 3, 4-man outfits, maybe 5, 6, 7, like not very many. Like,
you're not
they
going
don't
to.
have that kind of money.
No.
Yeah, they might make like 100, 200 grand a year, but they're not willing to chip in. Like, yeah, I'll throw an extra $10,000, 30, 50, 100 million, or not 100 million. Sorry, like $50,000, $100,000 towards your cause.
Yeah.
Get out of here. No,
Well,
they don't want
that's
that.
why, like, to
they don't
me-
want that regulation. That's why gurus and wholesalers like where they're at. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, I have nobody in my backyard telling me what to do. I don't have to claim any of my income on taxes because nobody makes me report it. Like, no, they don't want that kind of that awareness.
And to me, it's like, we got to control like their whole thing, and they use this a lot of trying to control and organize and bring together. So it's like, all right, so you're trying to take something that's been very organic, the way it's grown. Everybody does it the way they do it. Each city, each area, each state, they have their own things of doing it. They have their own ways. You want to take all of that and combine it into one way of doing everything, of doing the whole thing. I was like, you're killing the whole spirit of what it is to be an investor, of creative real estate, of
Yeah.
being able to think for yourself and think about creative solutions. How can you do this? How can you do that? Like, you at this point, like you said, you're creating the National Realtors Association for wholesalers, and you're going to kill it just as they're killing it for agents. You understand? Like, to me, it's and again, I do agree we need to come together, but I don't think having a membership group that provides a specific kind of education created by gurus that all of a sudden sell education and mentorship, what a coincidence.
Yeah.
That's not going to influence their bottom line, and they're going to determine the ethics. And it's like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't see this shit playing out in any way that actually benefits investors and wholesalers, throughout this whole space. And then they're like, oh, and we'll probably have conventions and we're going to do this and we're going to do, like, okay, so you're going to have conventions. So that means you got to charge more because you're going to have expenses. You're going to have all this. You got to charge people to go to this convention. You're just a guru. Like, you're doing the same shit.
Yeah.
You went from we want to lobby for
It just-
people to all of a sudden
dude,
we want to do
it
all
just,
this.
like the personality of gurus and their code of ethics, morals to me, and then you get them all trying to like govern this organization together. I think they just implode on themselves.
Yeah.
I just really think they would, because like I haven't met many like quote unquote like those guys are gurus. They make way more money by talking about real estate than doing real estate.
Yeah.
And I think they would just implode on themselves because they're all out for themselves. They're all like they try to play these games of, hey, we're part of the group. It's all about the community, but nah, not really. I'm trying to make money for myself.
And my thing is like, not trying to be so cynical and say, they're out for themselves and all this, but when you look at how
Not trying to be what I'm saying. Not agreeing with me.
No, but it like, playing devil's advocate here, And it's just looking at the way they're laying it out, looking at all the things, and I'm like, you're doing too much already. Like if your goal was to represent wholesalers and represent investors, what are you doing with everything else? Why are you trying to certify wholesalers? Why do you need to create a centralized contracts that everybody needs to use? Why create a centralized form of education that's created by you guys that everybody needs to follow? You understand? Like you yourself are gonna make wholesaling more impossible to do. Because at this point, like these states and everything, they're doing these laws, but they're such stupid laws to get around. Like, oh, you need a license. Okay. Like, and? Like, where's the complication here? You understand? Like, I don't think that their reaction to the problem is proportionate. I think what they're doing is getting a little bit too out of hand, and I just can't help but think about how it has to be because of the money and the awareness and the reach you will have by creating this kind of buzz. You know what I mean? By creating this kind of noise, you're going to be covered by media. You're going to be everywhere. You're going to get awareness.
You're going to catch the wrong attention that you're wanting.
Yeah, but what do they say? There's no such thing as bad publicity. It's one of those things that's like,
I don't know. It's like in that scenario, like wholesaling has always been an underground thing for a reason, and because one, it's not investing at all. Like you're just providing a service at that point, and like wholesaling has been around for decades, and it's becoming more and more mainstream. The fees are getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger on stuff like that. You're going to catch the attention of the people you don't want. Like they want the underground thing for the fact of the reasons. Like you can do those things. Yeah. And there's a lot of shitty people out there that like, and there are a lot of shitty wholesalers. Like, and that 80-20 rule we always talk about, like, I'm pretty sure I was thinking about this earlier for just today. I was like, I don't think the 80-20 rule applies here because like how many good wholesalers are there to bad wholesalers? And I don't think there's 80-20 of each.
You don't think there's 20 good wholesalers to 80 bad ones? You think there's a lot less?
Yeah, I really do. Because like once you start wholesaling, like you move on to actually true investing. Yeah. You move on to buying. You move on to, because it's a fucking straight up like hard hustling job. Can you make money? Yes, but you have no reoccurring revenue. You're not investing.
You can't stop
at all. You're not investing in your future. You're not investing in any kind of retirement. You're not investing in anything. It's like you're just making income.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's all you're doing.
You got to build systems. You got to build processes. You got to hire people. You got to take the risk, make the money. It's a lot to be able to have just wholesaling on its own as a business. Yeah. And that's
the ones that have made it. You look at them and they look at like, what is the reputation amongst like legitimate investors? Yeah, it's dog shit. Like it's just like no, God no. Like you name any one of these companies and they're just like, no. They started off.
Don't buy from them.
They started. They started off okay, but now they're just terrible. So
yeah. Well, I mean, looking at also some of the changes that because I'm a big fan of the free market, right? And I believe that yes, things can get bad, things can go to shit for a little bit, but if you let the free market be the free market, it will correct it. You understand? It's just, and it will correct it much quicker than any government can correct it. You understand? But it will correct it. And one of the things that we started seeing is when you and I both started, we went from, especially when I started like, 9 years ago now? I remember I started doing marketing and you didn't want to come off as a company. You wanted to come off as an individual because people, it was after the 2008 thing. So people were like, I don't want to deal with big companies, with businesses, with all this because you guys, you tank the whole economy and all these things and you're greedy, blah, blah, blah. So we were killing it with just doing postcards that said like, my wife and I want to buy your house. My family and I want to buy your house, right? Or Johnny buys houses and Alicia buys houses. And it's always that very personal one-on-one kind of thing. And what we've seen lately is that we're seeing a lot more people as sellers like, nah, this is a scam. I don't believe you. And they start hanging up. Mm-hmm. So we started switching to our company and our company name and our website and our address. like showing them that we are a legit business. We are on the Better Business Bureau. We are, on social media. We're everywhere. You can find that we are legit. Then you're talking to them now. Now that piques their interest. Now it's like, oh, okay, wow, that's great. What's your business card? What's your business address? Where are you located? They want to know because they're starting to move away from this, Johnny buys houses shit. Yeah. And they're starting to go to
my family wants to buy your houses. Because I remember when we discovered that, it was like, man, we just like discovered like sliced bread for the first time. Like
we were killing it,
blowing up, like it's crazy. And then all of a sudden, everybody started doing it. It's like it comes and it goes. It's like, oh, I get all these like wannabe, like my family wants to buy this house. My brother and I, my cousin and I, my family, my mom and dad, like they want to buy. Like, and now it's like not very many companies want to buy. Now when the companies come, oh, I'm going to go towards legitimacy, and then it's going to go away again. Like it's a roller coaster, comes and it goes.
Yeah. So, but again, comes and it goes, but the market always corrects. Like it's always going to move and shift. And right now, for those Johnny buy houses, it's getting a lot harder to find deals. If you can't set up a website, if you can't set up an online presence, if you can't set up a company, if you can't show that you're a legit business, it's getting harder and harder to find deals for these people. Where on our hand, it's getting easier and easier for us to find deals. So we're starting to see that shift. So if you're doing any kind of real estate marketing, you want to make sure that you are understanding what market you're marketing to. So this is something that, I've noticed personally, especially, with all the marketing that we've been doing, and we definitely pivoted. We made that shift. Yeah. We made that, and we're having people that are like, because we do have this one seller that complained on our Better Business page.
3 years ago.
Yeah, and it was a stupid complaint because it was,
and it got settled, resolved. Like,
yeah, we took care of it, but the point is that they went back and they searched that and they brought that up to us. So people are searching you. They want to see that you're credible. They want to see that that you are a real business and not just some schmo that just got started. So I think that already is going to create a big barrier for a lot of new wholesalers that have no track record. I think that's going to be something that's going to be a lot harder for you guys that are starting off. You don't have a track record. You don't have anything. What I recommend is work with somebody that does. I think, try to partner up. And I'm not saying go work for them. I'm not saying be their employee, get a W-2. What I'm saying is partner with them. Use their credibility, use their brand awareness, use their stuff to give you credibility until you build your own. You understand? That once you build your own, then you're going to be good to go. And who knows, by then probably the market shifts again.